Welcome back to IMS Venturi students. I hope your IELTS preparation is coming along well. Now, if you are somebody who identifies as somebody who's struggling with this particular question type from the reading module of IELTS, this video is for you. Yes students, in this particular video, I am going to be telling you how to tackle this particular question from the reading module and how to approach it in such a fashion that you don't lose any marks here. So without wasting time, let's get started. So students, before diving deeper into the details of this question type and how to approach it effectively, let's first understand what is this particular question trying to assess in you. So this particular question, when they give you, they try to assess your ability to capture factual and minute details out of a written discourse. Okay, so there is going to be a passage and they will ask you to see whether the statements they are giving to you in the question paper, are they in alignment with whatever has been said factually in the passage or not? If it's not like that, if it's contradicting, then it's going to be a false, and then if it's not given, it's going to be not given, right? So this is what the idea behind this particular question type is. Now let's see how do we approach this and what is to be done in this particular question. So first off, obviously you have to understand the question statement that is given to you in your question paper, right? So for that you need to understand and identify the key details or key words of your question. So for this, a good strategy is to chunk your question statement or break it down. Alright, so break your question statement into shorter phrases or shorter parts and then try to make an understanding of those statements and then process them and understand them thoroughly. Once you are done with this, then try to come back to the statement and then go back to your corresponding passage and see if there is something that is looking like a sync or some sort of alignment is there between the two. Alright, now let's understand how do you lock in your answer as true, false or not given. So for true, if you see that the question statement is in true alignment with the facts that are given to you in your passage, then you lock true as your answer. In case you think that the facts which are given to you in your question statement are in stark contrast or are totally contradicting the factual details which are given to you in your corresponding passage, you lock false as your answer. Alright, now in case you think or you understand that there is some bit or some chunk is there in your question statement which is not there in your passage or which is missing in your passage, then you lock not given as your answer. So these are the basics of this particular question type, and this is what you need to understand first before understanding how to approach this question effectively and how not to lose marks in this one. So students, here I have enlisted a few tips that you can follow to approach this question effectively and not lose marks here. So let's see what is the first one on the line. So the first one is that you have to look for extreme language. So words such as never, always, all, you have to be very careful while working with them. So say for instance, in my passage it says that Khushboo never leaves the house. Okay, and in my question statement it says Khushboo mostly doesn't leave the house, right? So there is a difference between both the statements and you need to be very careful when you are working with both of these. Okay, so words make a difference and that is something that you need to keep in mind. The second one is that you have to avoid assumptions. So you have to stick with whatever is given to you in the passage. So what do I mean by this? See, sometimes whatever facts are given in the passage or in the written discourse, they are not in alignment with what we believe. And second, they could not be in alignment with, what our common sense says. Okay, so we do not have to stick to what we believe, but here we have to stick with whatever the passage is saying to you, alright? So make sure that you are following the factual details which are given to you or assigned to you by the passage and not by your own brain, alright? So this is the second tip which you have to follow. The third one is that you have to again pay attention to wording. So you have to be very careful when you are working with different words. So I'll give you another example for this one. Let's say you are working with a question statement which says that in Khushboo's house all the roses are red, and in the passage it says that a few of the roses in Khushboo's house are red. Now here, the moment you see that the question statement is saying all the roses are red and the passage is saying most of or a few of them are red, you cannot just say that both of them are same, right? So here they are talking about a few things and here they are talking about all, right? Or say for instance, you have something which is having a singular subject and then the other which is having a plural subject. So say for instance, they tell you that Khushboo has one bag and then in the question statement maybe they are saying Khushboo has many bags, right? Or Khushboo has n number of bags. So this is also going to be something which has a little difference, right? Because in one thing you have data about one singular thing and in the other statement you have data about a lot of things, right? So the pluralization is there. So you need to be very careful with this and you need to understand both the question statement and the passage context thoroughly to approach the answer and the question effectively. Alright, the last one on the line is you have to be mindful of time, and in order to be mindful of the time and manage it properly, you need a lot of practice. So make sure that before approaching this question and before taking your IELTS examination in general, you practice a lot and you give a lot of time to your preparation. Students, now let's look at a passage and try to apply whatever we have learned so far. So this is your passage, but as you know, for these questions we don't look at the passage first, but we look at the question statements first. So we will be doing that. So let's do that. So the first statement on the screen is the Arctic fox can blend into its environment during both winter and summer. So here, what are the key words here? Let's try to first chunk it out and understand the key details. So they are talking about some Arctic fox and they are talking about this feature of this particular Arctic fox, that it can blend into its environment during both summers and winters. So our first keyword could be this Arctic fox. Then we could also look at something which could be a paraphrase for environment and some word which could hint at the environment which is a season of winters or of summers. So let's now come back to our paragraph. So here I can see in the first line that the Arctic fox is mentioned. Now I will try to also see the words for environment. So here they are telling about the cold environment, right? So let's go on and let's move further. It is a thick coat that changes color. Now here they are talking about color, right? So in the question statement also they are talking about something like blending in. So we would be more focused on this particular thing. Now they're also talking about seasons. Now read here, helping it blend into both the snow-covered winter landscape and the brown tundra during summer. So if we connect the dots here from the passage and from this particular question statement, we can see that this is going to be true because they are talking about both the things that are there. So they are talking about some Arctic fox in both the things. Then they are also mentioning something about blending in terms of the color. And then they are also talking about both the seasons, which are summers and winters, right? So all the facts and all the chunks from my statement of the question are in alignment with the facts which are given to me in the passage here. Okay, so this is going to be true. Now let's look at the other statement. The Arctic fox travels in packs with when foraging for food. So here let's come back to the statement, the passage, and what do we have to look for? We again have to look for the Arctic fox. Now here I have to see where they have mentioned food, because now we are working with a question which is related to food and their habits of how to grab the food and how to get it, right? So let's come back here and let's see where can we find food. So here there is food and like many and search for food, right? So here I see by scanning that search of food is written here. So Arctic foxes are known to travel long distances in search of food. Now if I come back here and I see the chunks that I made, the Arctic fox, it was traveling in packs and it was looking for food. So are all of my chunks aligning here? Let's see. Arctic foxes are here, they are mentioned. They are known to travel long distances, that is also mentioned, and they are traveling in search of food, that is also mentioned. But one part is missing here. If we come back to the question statement, we see this thing also here. So they are telling in the question statement that these Arctic foxes go in packs, right? But here they don't tell you that, right? So they are telling you that these creatures are there, they travel long distances in search of food. Yes, fact check for long distance, fact check for search of food, but they don't tell you anything about them going in packs to get that food. And that is why, since one part or one chunk of my question statement is not in alignment with whatever the facts are saying to me through this passage, I am going to say that my answer is not given. Okay, so this is NG. Now let's come back to the third statement. So the Arctic fox exclusively eats fish. So they are talking about the eating habits of this particular creature. So here we will be looking for these things and we will be focusing on eating, right? So let's come back to the passage. Now here, where do we see that they are talking about the eating habits of the fox? So let's see here. So I can see feeds, right? So the fox primarily feeds on small mammals like lemmings and birds, but it can also scavenge when food is scarce. All right. So here, if we see, they are telling us that, this particular creature preys for these, right? So they are prone to eating small mammals like lemmings and birds. So they are definitely telling us what they are eating, and our answer here is not incorporating fish, which is a part of my question statement, right? So this is in sharp contrast to whatever has been written here. So here they are telling that these foxes do eat birds. However, if I come back to the question statement, they are telling me that they eat fish, right? So this is showing me a contradiction, hence my answer here is going to be a false. All right, so this is how you work through these questions. So that's all for today, students. I hope you found this video helpful. If yes, please like, share and subscribe, and also stay tuned because in the next video I am going to be bringing you something more fun and interesting to follow. So yes, see you soon. Thank you.